This is something that we study. We just don't take a view that Tesla is untouchable. That's the last view that we take. We want to get this right. And as we just recently studied just take the software piece alone with other auto companies and looked at what Tesla's doing relative to other auto companies, it's not even close. And we can go through the details about what the updates from other car companies are. And I think that this is a race, and effectively that you've got a few years where traditional auto needs to make major improvement. We're just simply not seeing it.
Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, I'm reacting to a Tesla stock bull versus bear debate featuring Gene Munster and David Trainer, the latter of which appeared with Rob Maurer on Tesla Daily a while ago in a long-form interview and honestly revealed himself to be completely fucking clueless about Tesla to the point where it was kind of embarrassing. I couldn't really decide initially whether the guy was well-meaning and clueless or a bad actor, but I honestly think he's just got absolutely no fucking idea, in my opinion. So, let's get into the video. But first, hey guys, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. That is an obnoxiously good return on your investment. I mean, really, deposit $100 and you'll end up with, at minimum, $21 worth of stocks, a 21% ROI on your money. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
Tesla is being added to the S&P 500 today. It will immediately have the 6th largest market cap in the index, behind only Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Facebook. The shares are up just about 700% this year. Right now, let's bring in 2 opposing voices to talk about where the stock could go from here. Gene Munster, a longtime Tesla bull, from Loop Ventures, David Trainer, a New Constructs CEO. And he says right now Tesla should be trading at $172 a share. I hope that's not where you shorted it, David, but or below that. But we'll get to that in just a second. We had a Tesla bear on earlier. Let me start with Gene with the bull case. So Gene, this means a lot to certain people. Tesla, it represents a sort of a transition away from the internal combustion engine to EVs and everything that encompasses. So I guess that's, you don't need necessarily fundamentals immediately if that's what the future looks like, but you're also assuming that there's no barrier, or there is a barrier to entry to competitors. How do you put both of those things together, that it's sort of a story way into the future, plus it's assuming that there's not much competition? How do you still think it's a good buy at where it is right now after this move?
Well, we look at the next 5 years and think about where EVs are going to go. And today, that's about 3% of total vehicles sold globally are EVs. And we fast forward 5 years from now and think that 30% of cars can be electric.
Notice that subtle but important moment there. Gene Munster is asked, how can you justify buying Tesla stock at its current price? Munster, of course, immediately responds, well, because we're looking out into the future instead of into next week. One of the very common errors that Tesla bears and short sellers make is not understanding that we are transitioning to EVs. Tesla has an unassailable lead. They've got the production capacity. They're scaling up their ability to produce even more vehicles. There's insatiable demand for their products. They don't even need to advertise, and they're selling every vehicle they make. Electric vehicles are following an S-curve adoption rate, like other forms of disruptive innovation, but it's still in the deceptively early stage, and a lot of people are foolishly making false assumptions that are going to be very embarrassing in a few years' time.
And then you have to ask that important question about competition. You hit it right on the head, Joe. And ultimately, is right now, Tesla's global market share is around 35%. It's about 80% in the US. But if you assume they get 30% share, so that there is some deterioration because of competition 5 years from now, you get to a company that's just on the auto piece alone generating $300 billion in revenue. That's hardware, software, and services. You put an Apple like 6.5 times multiple on it, and you get a much bigger stock, a $2,500 stock.
So you heard it, folks. Gene Munster has a $2,500 price target on Tesla stock. I think this is quite reasonable.
But beyond the stock, to your point of your question, is I think I would agree that a lot is priced in, but it's important to put into context what's happened over the stock since its IPO 10 years ago. For 8 years, the company got no credit for what they were doing. It was essentially investors largely disbelieving the future. That's like someone pressing down on a spring. In the last 2 years, that's been released. And so I think that when investors look at the big move more recently, it's misleading. That move should have been more of a gradual trajectory over the last 10 years.
Couldn't have said it better myself. One great example of this is the span of time between 2014 and 2019, a 5-year period, half a decade, where Tesla stock effectively did nothing while the business continued to grow in leaps and bounds, scaling production, introducing new products, absolutely slaying it, winning Vehicle of the Year, best car ever, all sorts of other shite as well, killing it. And the stock does nothing, mostly because of FUD, people not understanding the story, etc. And hey, honestly, I wasn't complaining. I got to buy Tesla at 2016 prices in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019 before suddenly the stock caught up to where it should have been previously.
And then, of course, the most important question is ultimately what's going to power this higher. There's EVs, and one final piece, there's other businesses that they're getting into, whether it's panels, energy capture, insurance, HVAC, robo-taxis. It's not just EVs. And so I think you put all that together. I don't know what the stock's going to do today, in 2 weeks, in 2 months, but I have a strong belief that this is going to be a much bigger company in the next 5 years.
Gene is really singing my song here on Tesla stock. In fact, this is almost a direct quote from things that I've repeated many times, saying I've got no idea what will happen to Tesla stock in the short term, but I'm still buying because I believe over the long term, the trend is going to be up in a big way.
Okay, David, that you heard a lot. You're going to turn around? You're going to buy some today?
No, not at all. Look, I think all the projections that we've seen that look out 10 years, not just 5 years, but 10 years, are showing maybe 26 or 30 million electric vehicles. And that would imply an enormous amount of improvement for Tesla in terms of their manufacturing capacity, nowhere near where they are now. And if you look at the valuation today, it implies that they would be, more than 30 million vehicles production themselves. So more than 100% of the electric vehicle market, just doing the math.
Objection. I don't think that number is correct. I have for 5 years now, we have 8.5 million vehicles.
You had your turn, Gene, man. Listen, nobody really believes that insurance is going to make a lot of money. GM was in the insurance business, and they got out of it, right? Solar panels has kind of been a disaster. I think the Solar City acquisition, I think there's some potential trouble, regulatory trouble and legal trouble related to that. And
how to recognize you're either hearing from a total dumbass or a bad actor. Not saying which is which. If instead of making comments about Tesla, the company, the competitive landscape, the technology, the vertical integration, blah, 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 they just start throwing out FUD.
Look, the idea that Tesla's going to continue to scale up successfully, given all the recalls and the trouble they're seeing in their consumer reports rankings.
Well, what do you know? Another 2 gigantic steaming piles of FUD. Is that all you got, David?
I think that's kind of a false narrative as well. I mean, I haven't met many folks who've even attempted a straight-faced argument besides don't fight the tape with respect to the valuation of Tesla. And look, it marks a peak in the reckless environment of our day. Joe, you were joking about the sports betting, right? And I think during the pandemic times in the summer, you were joking about how we got a lot of people who couldn't bet on sports, and so they're betting on stocks. And I think that's what you got here is Tesla's become a game for people. They think as long as they keep buying it, it'll keep going up. And that's a dangerous strategy. And it's a hope. And hope is really not a good investment strategy.
Gene?
My response is it's not fighting the tape here. You're fighting what is an undeniable truth around electrification. And I think that, you talk about the numbers, your expectations about growth in the next 10 years, I think it's going to be much more than 26 million or 30 million vehicles that are electric in 10 years from now. There's about 90 million or so sold globally. You think about just China alone, 15-20% of the world's market, they're going to be almost entirely electric in the next 5 years of their 2025 plan. And so I just look at this. My experience has been that when there is a transformation, it is really hard to predict what happens in the near term. It always takes longer than you expect, but ultimately becomes more impactful to our everyday lives. And I think it is not. This is not a stock market phenomenon. What's going on with Tesla it's a human phenomenon, what's going on in terms of the future of transportation, whether it's electric or autonomous.
Market share expectations are very unrealistic. I mean, the bottom line is they're losing market share in Europe at a very rapid pace, where the competition is ahead of where it is in the United States.
Ooh, here's one from the Gordon Genius Johnson playbook. Now, David, if you're watching, just a bit of a pro tip. I know it may be difficult to digest given the obvious evidence of your impaired intellectual capacity regarding Tesla, but just bear with me here. The thing that matters regarding Tesla's sales of their products is actually how many of their products they're selling on planet Earth, not in a subset of that particular market, okay? As I mentioned on a recent video, it doesn't really matter what's happening to Tesla's market share of EVs or vehicles in Timbuktu or bumfuck nowhere. What matters is, are Tesla producing more vehicles and are they selling those vehicles? And the answer to both of those questions is and has been yes for the duration of their existence as a company.
Even GM is selling more cars, electric vehicles, in China than Tesla is right now, and so, you know, it's unrealistic to believe they're going to maintain the level of market share they have today. It's already declining, and at some point, I think this comes back to reality, and I think we're talking maybe a valuation closer to Ferrari as opposed to Toyota, or 5 times Toyota.
I haven't seen the GM numbers. That is absolutely, I agree with you. In China, GM sells more electric cars than Tesla. What China did with Tesla was unprecedented with how they're structuring their factory, the Gigafactory in Shanghai. That doesn't mean that they're going to have big market share there, and that's not part of our expectations. But one piece on the market share is that the concept of where traditional auto is. This is something that we study. We just don't take a view that Tesla is untouchable. That's the last view that we take. We want to get this right, and as we just recently studied just take the software piece alone with other auto companies and looked at what Tesla's doing relative to other auto companies. It's not even close. And we can go through the details about what the updates from other car companies are. And I think that this is a race, and effectively that you've got a few years where traditional auto needs to make major improvement. We're just simply not seeing it.
So maybe I'm biased here on Tesla stock. After all, I've been all in on Tesla stock now for close to half a decade, so maybe that's distorting my ability to view reality. That is a possibility. But my impression from this, Gene Munster raised a lot of fair points that I completely agree with, and David unfortunately didn't really have anything of any substance to say, but maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm imagining things, maybe I'm deluded, maybe I am biased. So guys, please let me know in the comments below. Were there any points that David raised that you thought were relevant, valid, and actually made the bearish case for Tesla stock? Or do you think he's just full of it? I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.